Hello, BookTube, and welcome to our read-along of the Gospel according to St. Luke. We are reading the King James Bible version, and we are up to chapter 23. And the whole multitude of them arose, and led him, that is Jesus, unto Pilate, that is Pontius Pilate, the procurator of Judea, the source of Roman power. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this fellow perverting the nation, and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ their king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he, that is Jesus, answered him, saying, Thou sayest it. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were the more fierce, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged unto Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who himself was at Jerusalem at that time. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he was desirous to see him of a long season, because he had heard many things of him, and he hoped to have seen some miracle done by him. Then he questioned with him in many words, but he answered him with nothing. And we don't have that interview. I wish we did. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. And Herod with his men of war set him at naught, and mocked him, and arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. And the same day Pilate and Herod were made friends together, for before they were at enmity between themselves. So batting this prisoner back and forth to pass the buck is at least shoring up their friendship. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said unto them, Ye have brought this man unto me as one that perverteth the people, and behold, I have examined him before you, have found no fault in this man touching those things whereof ye accuse him. No, nor yet Herod, for I sent you to him, and lo, nothing worthy of death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him, and release him. For of necessity he must release one unto them at the feast. And they cried all at once, saying, Away with this man, and release unto us Barabbas, who for a certain sedition made in the city, and for murder, was cast in prison. This fiction that on the feast of the Passover, the Roman governor has to release a prisoner to the people. That's what's being referred to here. We've seen it in the other two Gospels, where I have to release you somebody, and I'm thinking it'll be this guy. But the Jewish leaders are saying, no, we want Barabbas. Don't release Jesus. Pilate, therefore, willing to release Jesus, spoke again unto them. But they cried, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And he said unto them the third time, Why? What evil hath he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him, and let him go. And they were instant with loud voices, requiring that he might be crucified. And the voices of them and of the chief priests prevailed. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And he released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired. But he delivered Jesus to their will. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Cyrenian, to come out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. And there followed him a great many company of the people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. But Jesus, turning unto them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming in which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bore, and the paps which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. For if they do these things in the green tree, what shall be done in the dry? So Jesus is telling the women of Jerusalem, don't worry about me, worry about yourself, because cataclysm is coming because this is happening to me. And that doesn't happen. Unless the author is referring to the destruction of the great temple. And there were also two others, malefactors, led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place, which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand, and the other on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment, and cast lots. And the people stood beholding. And the rulers also with them derided him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he be Christ, chosen of God. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the king of the Jews, save thyself. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew, "This is the King of the Jews." And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, "If thou be Christ, save thyself and us." But the other answering rebuked him, saying, "Dost not thou fear God, seeing that thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss." And he himself said unto Jesus, "Lord, remember me when thou come into thy kingdom." And Jesus said unto him, "Verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise." So Luke is changing the story that we've seen in the earlier Gospels, where the two malefactors crucified with Jesus both mock him. Here only one of them does. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour, and the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, "Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit." And having thus said, he gave up the ghost. Now when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified God, saying, "Certainly this was a righteous man." And all the people that came together in that sight, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts and returned. And all his acquaintance, and the women that followed him from Galilee, stood afar off, beholding these things. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel and the deed of them. In other words, he didn't agree with the condemnation and execution of Jesus. He was of Arimathea, a city of Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God. This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. And the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after, and beheld the sepulchre, and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. Because again, Luke changes the story just a bit. Remember, in an earlier gospel, Pilate is astounded that Jesus is already dead. It's just been a few hours. He should be living for days. But here we get the story of the crucifixion, the story of the cataclysm that is shown on the earth, the story of the faithful at the foot of the cross, and the story of the tomb, Joseph of Arimathea's tomb that he provides for the body of Jesus, so that the common fate of crucifixion victims is that they would be, first of all, they would be days or even weeks dying, and then whatever's left of their body would be cast into a common pit. And that would be that. It'd be covered with a layer of earth and a layer of lime and ready for the next batch. Here, it's a stately burial. It's a stone-cut sepulchre that's never been used before. And that is not the last chapter, of course. In Mark, that is the last chapter, but in Luke, the story goes on. So we will finish the Gospel according to St. Luke next time. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.